Your best NBA bets and player props to target for February 10th, this Friday. Being joined with Mr. BMatt, aka Brian Matthews. Apparently now your legal name is BMatt, you're aka Brian Matthews. But hey, I mean, you said that I was giving you new nicknames every week, so I guess your nickname for today is just going to be Brian Matthews. It's been that kind of week leading up to Super Bowl week.
Hey,
Thanks for
man.
hopping on the show, Brian.
Hey, appreciate you having me. I thought we were going to get a new kind of spazzy one, but I'll take my government on there. You really had to go there, huh?
This is like my bailout nickname, so
Yeah,
I'll hit you with a good one next week. Don't worry,
all right.
I got you.
Good deal.
We're looking for a little bit of a rebound.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, it's a little tough on Monday. We were both on the Jordan Poole train. Let us down, and then of course said, "Hey, check this out," and won comfortably the day after. I saw a lot of people. You weren't alone here. The DeMar DeRozan one was just
Yeah.
absolutely brutal. But you did hit Dante DiVincenzo over 17.5 PRAs. Jared Allen kind of just teased you a little bit, but came up a couple rebounds short. Again, I missed that Poole points, but did hit Cavs -2. So I was indeed not a sucker. So you're still up 2 units in total. I'm still trying to fight my way back, but today's a brand new day. That's what we're here for. Brian, I want to ask you real quick. There was obviously an insane amount of trades that went down yesterday. Obviously, the biggest one was Durant going to Phoenix. You get those odds at like plus 450 now. Like, is that worth betting at that point?
I mean, so normally on futures, I like the odds to be a little higher, especially when you're this far
Mm-hmm.
out, right? If you're going to tie up money for a
Yeah.
little while, I like to see that, it's tied up with a nice little payday at the end. But if you really feel like, if you look at the Western landscape or you look at the landscape of the NBA and say, Phoenix with Kevin Durant, they're the best team. At least that's what people think. It's going to take time for them to gel. I mean, they lost Mikal Bridges, so they'll improve offensively. I think they'll suffer a little bit on the defensive end, but we'll see how all these pieces and parts, kind of fit together. But look, when you get a chance to add a player like Kevin Durant, I understand why the Suns made that move.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And I am happy to report that neither of us have been traded by OddsChecker for 5 second-round picks. So that's just great news to hear, because at that point, I mean, everyone was flying off the board. Let's get to our action tonight. We have a full slate of games, although we have no idea who's playing for any teams. Unfortunately for my Spurs, Zach Collins is our starting center. So it has been that kind of season. But let's start with you. Give me your best bets for tonight, Mr. Brian Matthews.
All right, look. So this matchup normally wouldn't be as friendly to point guards, but it kind of just topples on the back of what you were just saying. Look, the Phoenix Suns right now, they are without a lot of players, right? So defensively, they're struggling. I look at Tyrese Halliburton, and that's a guy that he's in his last 2 games has topped 20 potential assists. Now, last game he had 10 assists. He hasn't been breaking the mark too much, but he can only do so much about that. His teammates eventually, they got to make some shots. And so, look, Phoenix is down a lot of bodies, right? I expect Devin Booker to be back, but they just traded Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges. Jay Crowder wasn't a part of the rotation. So they're going to be down a lot of bodies. I like this spot here. So, look, it's a pick at plus 115 that I think there's a lot of value at. And, I went ahead and took it, seeing as he's a guy that's, again, probably going to end up with about 18 to 23, or 15 to 23 potential assists on any given night. So I'll take the odds.
Yeah, the Suns just got cooked by Trae Young and the Hawks the other night. And
Yes.
I know you can't put too much stock into it because, trade deadline going on, guys getting shipped everywhere, but they're still shorthanded. That much is still true until they get KD coming back from his knee injury. Let's go for pick number 2. What else you got for us?
All right, look, so this line moved. I took it last night. I hate when I have to take a line, on the show that I didn't take originally. Obviously, it leaves you exposed a little bit. But look, I'm going to go with the guy who's, playing very well recently, Darius Garland. Look, I like him at over 21.5 points. The line started at 20.5. It's moved up since. He scored 30 in his first game versus them. Donovan Mitchell was playing in that game. So even though Donovan Mitchell has been putting up a ton of shots, I mean, Darius Garland has been doing the same. He's just been connecting at a higher rate. I like Darius Garland to keep it going tonight. He had gone over 20.5 in 8 of his last 10, but he's gone over 21.5 in 7 of his last 10. So it's not like this is a stretch, real stretch here on the extra point. So look, I like Darius Garland to keep it going. I think even if Donovan Mitchell does have a big night, still plenty of shots to go up for Garland.
So fair to say that ideally you take it at 20.5, but it's playable up to 21.5. Like
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you hadn't
And like,
played it last night, would you still do it?
if what?
If you hadn't taken it last night, would you? And you were looking at it today, would you be taking it today?
It's at minus 106, so I would consider it. But if it were anywhere above minus 110, or minus 120, minus 130, I wouldn't play it at all.
Okay.
That point isn't a huge difference, but then if you take it with juice, and then that becomes a riskier proposition. So, there are ways to get about it. If you wanted to do Darius Garland, 20 plus points, Jared Allen 6.5 plus rebounds, you'd be at plus money. So there are certain things that you can do. If you don't like that the lines moved a little bit, find another safe prop, water that down, and hopefully you get something right there.
Okay. For pick number 3, I have a feeling I'm not going to like who it's against, but hit me.
All right, so look, you talked about it. Jakob Poeltl, he's gone. They shipped him up north, right? So Zach Collins is the starting 5. So look, they're shark bait down low. I mean, I like Jalen Durant. I said this. I said on the show on our little segment that I was done betting Jalen Durant. And now here I am betting Jalen Durant. So look, it's plus 140 at Bet365. It's plus 115 at DK DraftKings for the double-double. Look, if he doesn't get it tonight, man, we're in some serious trouble. Pistons just shipped Sadiq Bey out. They're not going to have, their full rotation of guys. And so if Durant can't get the double-double against Zach Collins, he will officially be on the no-fly list for me.
Yeah, at that point you're like, all right, I have to do this, and if it happens, then I don't deserve to win this bet type of thing.
Yeah, right. Like I got to just stop. Got to give up.
Also completing the list of centers for the Spurs who are not questionable day to day or anything else, because Ken Burch is probably not playing, just got traded there. Isaiah Roby, and that's it. It's just them two. In terms of just people that aren't banged up and questionable, maybe participate in shoot around today, whatever. It's also just Isaiah Roby. That's all you got. So if it was a rough first half of the season for Spurs fans, it's about to get a whole lot worse.
Hey, look,
but
man,
anyway,
it looks like the Victor Wembanyama train is in full go, right? I mean, you saw the lineup they're rolling out tonight. I mean, Jeremy Sochan's out. You've got Keldon Johnson out. Trey Jones is out. So, I think it's going to be, Malachi Branham shooting about 30 shots tonight. So we'll see.
Yeah, well, that kind of leads into my first pick. So I was eyeing this when it was at plus 3.5. Now it's up to plus 6. I'm gonna maybe not make the smartest move here. I'm gonna take the Spurs plus 6 against the Pistons, regardless of essentially no one playing. There have been a lot of guys who, again, like you mentioned, participated in shoot around. They're questionable, probably not going to play. And I'm taking this for the sheer fact that I refuse to take the Pistons when they are favored in a game, because the Pistons, stop me if you've heard this before, they suck. And it's not like the Spurs are good. The Pistons have been favored 3 times this season. They are 1-2. They've only been favored once in the last, I think, 20 games or something like that. You have a matchup of 2 teams who just refuse to cover the spread. The Spurs have failed to cover in their last 9. Again, the Spurs don't have anyone. I'm not really selling this here, I understand. But I just refuse to take the Pistons favored in a game. I refuse to take a team that no longer has Sadiq Bey on them to actually win a game. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Spurs plus 6. I don't suggest it, but here we are, and someone has to do it. So I'm going on San Antonio's side.
Hey, you know what, man? Sometimes those are the picks, right, where you make them and you look crazy, but they hit, and you look genius. You just you never know.
This whole time.
Yeah, that happens to me quite a bit. People, what? Hey, I know it hit. All right, okay. And
what are you looking at here? And then it happens. For pick number 2, I'm going to stay with someone who we talked a little bit earlier on the show about, Tyrese Halliburton, over 12.5 rebounds and assists. You can get at minus 135 on DraftKings. It's not usually a market I dip into all that often. I usually prefer points and assists or points, rebounds, assists. But his PRA was at 31.5. It's not something he's hit consistently since coming back from injury. And if you look at his rebounds and assists, it's something he has hit in 3 of his last 4 games. Now, this line has moved, albeit, to over 13.5, which he's only hit in 2 of his last 4, making it a little more dicey because he just barely cleared it one time. But you can get that at FanDuel at plus 102. I'm going to be playing the 12.5 minus 135 on DraftKings, but I understand if you want a little more excitement and want to take that on FanDuel. BMatt, as always, you have one more pick for us. Hit me with your bonus bet.
All right, so I decided while you were talking there, apologies, that I'm going to go ahead and split this one up, right? So we normally do it a unit, so I'm going to go ahead and make it 2 picks. I'm going to go 0.5 units so a half unit on Fred VanVleet over 9.5 rebounds plus assists. All right, so we just talked about this. I'm going to get into the bonus pick, then we're going to put the other half unit on. But look, if you look at Utah defensively, they give up the most rebounds to point guards. And I think they're top 10, in assists allowed to opposing point guards. So then you go and you look back at the game logs, Fred VanVleet against this Jazz team. In his last 2 games, triple doubles for Fred VanVleet. So look, I like the over 9.5 rebounds and assists as kind of a security blanket. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the other half unit and we're going to live a little, right? So instead of the, minus 118 that the rebound and assist line is at, we're going to go with the plus 600 double-double. So look, like I said, the guy's had a triple-double in his last 2 games against the Jazz, right? And if I had a streak going like that, I'd kind of think like, how many in a row can I get on this team, right? And Fred VanVleet's not a triple-double guy, so usually. So I think he's kind of found his spot here. Utah is going to be without a few players, potentially Jordan Clarkson too. So look, at plus 600 on DraftKings, give me Fred VanVleet for a double-double. And if you guys are feeling crazy, his triple-double is plus 7,500 on FanDuel.
All right, we got our dollar and a dream bet right there.
There you go.
No need to look any further even. Let's round it out with the segment we run every week. It's the DraftKings most bet on player props for today. I'm going to give you the most bet on player props. You're going to tell me which ones you like, which ones you hate. Throw anything at my head, whatever you want to do at that point. Right. It's a free country.
Let's do it.
You got Brandon Ingram over 24.5 points at minus 130. Paul George over 24.5 points at minus 115. Although I will say the way things have been going for PG, just in hitting his points over, so he might be public enemy number 1. LaMelo Ball over 23.5 points minus 130. Julius Randle over 23.5 points minus 115. And someone took an alternate, Brandon Ingram over 23.5 points at minus 125. I think this is the first time since we started doing this show that we have gotten 5 points for most bet on, and all of them are either 24.5 or 23.5.
Yeah.
So maybe not so much excitement today, but we don't have anything that's crazy chalk, at least. So what are we thinking about these?
All right, so I'm going to fade 2 picks right off the bat. I'm going to fade Brandon Ingram. I know that he was taken twice, and it might be that people rushed his line last night, when it was a point lower, and then kept taking it today. But it's a bad matchup against Cleveland, so I'll take my chances here that, look, they're bottom 10 in points allowed to that position, actually bottom 5. So it's a very tough matchup. Ingram has been playing with volume on his side. But when you're talking Cleveland, you're talking Evan Mobley, you're talking Jared Allen. They've got good defensive players. So I think that's going to be a tough spot for him to hit. I think Julius Randle is one where you can live with the results of taking the over because he's never going to not shoot the ball a lot. So, really when you're taking a points, over on a points prop, right, and it's this high, you want to say like, all right, I want a guy that's going to at least shoot it like, 17, 20 times to feel good that, the volume will be there. And so he'll probably take, at least attempt 8 threes. He's got the history there versus Philadelphia. So I like that one. I like LaMelo Ball too. The only thing that scares me is it's an 11-point spread with Boston. So he might be needed to score. Plumlee's out of town. So we'll see how that one goes. The only thing that would concern me there is, look, that game's over early. Where are you going to get those points from? So I got to fade Ingram. I'm in the middle on LaMelo. I think, if they can keep it close enough, I think LaMelo's going to shoot enough. I like Julius Randle at 23.5. I think that's fair. I think Brunson will probably be assisting a little more and still finish around 18 to 20. But and am I missing one there?
Paul George over 24.5 points.
All right, so this one's tricky, right? So he's definitely in like the, you see people say like, oh, they're ban lists, right? So Paul George has made it into a lot of people's ban lists. But like, here's the thing, right? The Clippers just traded a lot of players Now, they receive players in return. They're not going to be playing tonight. And on top of that, Kawhi Leonard's out. So the matchup with the Bucks is not a good one. It's not really a great one at all. And Paul George has just not been scoring the ball like he used to. But in this case, I would lean to the under slightly. I'm not taking this prop, but I kind of see the upside here at 24.5. Like, it's Paul George, right? So if he has a good night, he's capable of scoring 30 or 35. And especially if he's the alpha, and you're missing Reggie Jackson, Luke Kennard's out of town. He might be needed to shoulder more of that scoring load. But those aren't ones that I played personally.
Yeah, there's really just no one left to score there if it's not him and no Kawhi. So, I mean, like you said, I definitely get it. I don't know if I'm bold enough to take it. I think if I'm taking only one of these, I'm taking LaMelo Ball over 23.5. Just because, I mean, Tatum's going to play today, I think. I think Robert Williams already confirmed he's going to play, and Brogdon is questionable. But I kind of like Charlotte to just say fuck it, let's keep it close tonight or something like that. And for it to be close for 2.5, maybe 3/4.
Hey, I thought you were saying that for a producer again. I mean, I know you love to get at him about the Celtics, so I figured that was just a jab. But hey, look, man, the Charlotte, you never know, man. If their guys are hot, right, and they're shooting well, they can keep it close. I think. Al Horford's questionable too, and so we'll see, what shakes out and who's in the final lineup. But, like we said, we talk about volume shooters, and if you look at LaMelo Ball's game log, he's never shy of shooting 3-pointers. He shoots more than Julius Randle, so you can live with the over.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, Brian, really appreciate you hopping on the show as always. We'll be back next week, couple episodes. Let's get football out of the way. Let's lock in on basketball. All your best player props, every bet you need to hit for tonight. BMatt, I'll talk to you next week.
Appreciate you having me.